Okay, don't be mad, but I brought my pet Gary to class today.
Is Gary going to be some kind of eldritch monstrosity?
Perhaps.
Hello there, and happy Halloween. I'm Mount Pain 27, and this is Sawed Off Hallowads, a spin-off of a Dean of Doom spin-off where we give grades to classic and contemporary Halloween-themed Doom wads. Why? Because enough people share this very specific interest. Thanks to Gary, we're down to just 3 working terminals, but that should be enough to salvage the special.
Oh yeah, Gary ate one of the computers. You might have time to fish it out before he finishes digesting.
Aha. So, here's how the show works. Every map gets 1 grade for quality and 1 for difficulty. Quality grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. We grade difficulty from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, my idea of a great map is probably not the same as yours, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. Before we start, the rules are, we play on ultra violence and must pistol start each level. I need to play each wad twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. Now to the wads. Let's start things off with Orange is True Love by Ripix and Grain of Salt. Essentially the Wormwood series prequel, these 3 orange and vaguely spooky speed maps inaugurated a great tradition of making mad science experiments and spine-tingling death domains link arms. Thankfully they don't go for the throat like the next 4 installments either, so accessibility, even on UV, is much less of an issue. Let's dive in. Map 1, Bat House. Why trick or treat when you could have both? Bat House rewards those of us who have a deep investment in the Doom scene. It offers a rare glimpse of lighthearted Ribix, who's often assumed to have a one-track mind for murder, and tickles a funny bone that most of the world simply doesn't have. It's quite the predicament, being stuck in a maze with 5 archviles, a juvenile cyber demon, and a bat colony, especially when your BFG poots forth 1 puny plasma bolt per shot. Luckily, the twisty layout favors you more than it does the thin-skinned Martians. 1 splash from Cybe and they'll never let him forget it. With fancy footwork and 3 megaspheres for emergencies, you can wait for the vials to get chewed up by Cybe's rockets and then BF pew him while circling the perimeter and brushing the bats out of your eyes. Ribix is an all-round prodigy, so it really doesn't surprise me that he cracked open D-Hacked for a speed map, but I never expected to discover his silly side. Trick and treat. Grade A, difficulty B. Map 2, what a horrible night to have a curse. Most of Grain of Salt's speed mapping time must have gone into combat calibration, because this boggy siege's set dressing is as minimal as its action is robust. Bloody your knuckles on the lion switch and get ready for waves of creatures from the Black Lagoon, bearing in mind that the supplies in the house are all you'll get. The damaging mud strongly encourages holing up in your burnt down dwelling, but the caco-lanterns and skeletons are dead set on flushing you out. The arrival of spiders and fire ogres signals the end of the assault, so when you hear them rock up, set your feet and show them whose swamp this is. The MIDI and the festive plasma rifle add color to an otherwise technically minded map. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 3, Big Durst Energy. Big Durst Energy wets its pants standing next to Ribix's other Halloween heavy hitters, but it's the king of OITL's small playground. Durst has a few key landmarks to structure your approach around. There's a backup megasphere tucked in this blinky metal maze, the baby cyber turret has 2 important switches and an early plasma rifle, and falling into the Fanta pit is a decision to progress the map. After carving up these pain elementals, Hell Knights, and Revenants, you can duel the green cyber at the end of the tunnel and ride up to the red key, or take the stairs to the sadder switch which unlocks the yellow key area. This fight is a bit tougher in Z-Doom because the rocket launcher blows the cacos sky high, but of course I blame no one but myself for that. Now on higher ground you can take out the Revenant snipers and acquire a critical armor bonus. Return to Frankencyber's perch with the yellow key and you can reanimate him, which attracts the attention of 4 archviles and reveals a path to the switch that opens the final funhouse. I wish I could explain what the hell is happening in here. Somehow, it blinks monsters, items, and projectiles in and out of view, but the phasing effect is mostly psychological. So long as you stay on the grid lines and keep the archviles' attention on the cybers, you should be able to ride out the strobing assault without losing your marbles. Big Durst Energy doesn't command brute respect like Wormwood's juggernauts, but I'm fond of its eccentric mood and MIDI, thoughtful combat, and whimsical color choice, of course. Grade A-, difficulty A-. And that'll do it for Orange is True Love. The next spooktacular specimen up for examination is Fallen Leaves by Bry Irving. The fifth full release from one of 2021's most promising newcomers, Fallen Leaves dresses its 7 hard-boiled maps in seasonal splendor. It borrows assets from such diverse sources as Otex, Doom 64, Doom Kid's Jamal Jones trilogy, and Lost Civilization, and the custom palette by DIR gives it a singular look, but Fallen Leaves' biggest selling point is Bry's intense and catchy combat. If you choose to give it a go, bring a rake and an appetite for carnage. Fallen Leaves is MBF21 compatible, but I'm playing it in Z-Doom today because nothing went wrong when I used it for my first 2 playthroughs. Map 1, Evenfall. So you downloaded Fallen Leaves looking for some gentle autumn atmosphere, and then this happened. Fallen Leaves is a coffee break wad in the most literal sense. It's served piping hot and shoots you up with caffeine. Evenfall sets the tone with this first of 4 Mark Clem middies, bathes your eyes in fall colors, and most importantly demonstrates Bry's commitment to recycling spaces with ever-escalating intensity. His arenas unfold in stages and never let you feel safe until the last bad guy hits the ground, but they're structured such that you can always carefully make loops through them. I headbang to Bry's big flourishes, most notably the Rocket Rampage and the Orange Juice Grotto, but the interstitial fights don't mess around either. Brace yourself for pain elementals in this wad, Bry loves them. Evenfall bites like a bullwhip, but if you fight back with all you've got, it won't land any more lashes. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 2, Sorrel. Sorrel feeds you value packs of rockets and demons as it spirals outward and upward. Bry doesn't waste a square foot and ties the whole picture together with an axle of wooden beams decked in flags and dying foliage. With the opening fight in the can, scoop up a leaf blower and take the elevator to the upper level, where one of my favorite little fights in the wad awaits. A shooting line of chain gunners followed by 5 pain elementals wrapped in a gang of revenants. The ballsy blue key blowout dunks still more pain elementals in a caramel caco coating, to which I say, keep them coming. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 3, The Inner Circle. So far, we've learned that Bry likes dense layouts, rocket splurges, pain elementals, archviles at the ending, and everlasting monster gobstoppers. Enter The Inner Circle, which grinds up those qualities and brews them into Bry espresso. It's the shortest map in the wad, and the first of its 2 fights is all for show, believe it or not. Pressing the 4 purple pentagrams unveils the inner circle, shoving you into a newly formed moat surrounding a jam-packed demon community library. If the archviles get loose from the horde, that's actually a good thing. You're digging in quicksand if they're working overtime in there. Touch the BFG at the center of the map, and a heap of meatballs will tumble out of the exit with a head start, because 4 more vials also warp in across the way. I pity the sap who burned all his cells during the first phase. Rocketing 14 pain elementals unfettered by the lost soul limit is risky business. This map marks a turning point for the wad. The next 3 Fallen Leaves are a bit more fleshed out. Grade B+, difficulty A-. Map 4, Palace of the Fall. The first truly outdoorsy map in the set, Palace of the Fall woos you with a gorgeous opening shot, but don't lower your guard. It's a predator's natural camouflage. Pop into the pumpkin puree for a backpack and plasma gun. Both secrets are invaluable and provide some subtle foreshadowing. Palace's midsection feels perfunctory, especially the key hunt's 3 short squabbles. I also question the need to make the BFG a secret since it's barely hidden and doesn't make the final fight much easier. Soaked in scalding blood and rife with revenants, this castle underbelly bombardment knocks the pulp out of your pumpkin like no other encounter in Fallen Leaves. This archvile needs to be at the top of your hit list. He has a clear view of the whole cavern and there's no time to take cover with 90 revenant missiles chasing you. If you blast through the peripheral mancubi, you can enlist the cybers for revenant extermination by lowering them with the pentagram switch, but that's easier said than done. Palace starts and ends strong, and that's enough to leave a good impression. Grade B+, difficulty A-. Map 5, Aurelia. Armed with a wealth of natural beauty and some handsome Roman architecture, Aurelia's relaxed cadence suits its peaceful setting. After 4 furious maps, these million-dollar views are a welcome reprieve. Coming from the guy who put 5 pain elementals in a single map 2 ambush, the Yellow Key Park feels especially soft-core, but the archvile elevator that follows will wipe the dreamy look off your face. Once again, Bry saves his best for last. The outpouring on the Pantheon Pavilion becomes much less dangerous if you grab this megasphere first, but you're in for a shock if you hit the escape switch early. I gambled with it here on purpose and won. When the monsters get done gushing, do a pagan dance around them till they drop. From there, all that's left to do is compost the revenants and Mancubi on your way out the door. I think Aurelia best aligns Bry's design goals with his chosen season's aesthetic. Autumn's quiet sunset moments linger longest in our memories. Grade A, difficulty B+. Map 6, The Coming Chill. The outdoor temperature may have plummeted, but you'll still be sweating bullets in this shadowy ski resort. Death from exposure to chain gunners and spider snipers threatens more imminently than the elements. Lucky for us, the outdoor sections are spacious, generous with supplies, and don't use ice physics. Bless you, Bry. The vile-spiked chain gunner extravaganza that triggers when you walk through the yellow door used to scare the snowshoes off me, but fear is the mind killer. Fleeing back the way you came is asking for the firing squad. Instead, hang a right at the rocket pile and go to town. Archie and co are too stupid to follow you, and with your posterior secure, you can rocket through their posse effortlessly. The blue key unlocks the frozen grounds, where the biggest fight in the WAD takes place. It's a doozy. Flanking the Imp and Hell Knight army buys invaluable infighting time and creates a fat buffer against incoming projectiles. Once the foot soldiers have thinned, all that's left to do is keep an eye on the cyber demons and hurl rockets at the Revenant Palisades. The Coming Chill crescendos authoritatively, but I'm kind of bummed out that fall is over already. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 7, Exile. Jutting out of a bloody lake and surrounded by a snow-capped ring of flesh, Exile plays like a reprise of the Inner Circle with much less tenacity. Squash the spiders outside, crush the tower's meager defenses, free the BFG, and the only thing between you and victory is a slow-footed hunting party. If you rush outside like an idiot, the vile watchdogs may zap you, but non-hammerheads can simply wait for the procession to arrive and melt it with a few splashes of purple. Even without the BFG, this encounter would still play modestly. The demon offensive is atypically sluggish for Bry work. Key collecting at the end also feels very obligatory. All in all, it's a bemusing and rather deflated conclusion, but Exile wouldn't stick out if the preceding levels weren't so sharp. Grade B-, difficulty C+. So, Fallen Leaves' visual theme is what roped me into playing it, and I felt slightly cheated initially. 5 out of these 7 maps downplay the autumnal assets or dispense with them entirely. After recalibrating my expectations in replays, I've gained a thorough appreciation for Bry's pumped-up combat and lean layouts, and I still get my fall fix during the lovely Map 5. This is a strong grab-and-go map set shot through with delicious encounters. Rocket launcher nuts and slaughter initiates should gobble this one up. My final grade for Autumn Leaves is an A- with a difficulty of B+. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Map 5, Aurelia. Salutatorian, Map 1, Evenfall. Class President, Map 4, Palace of the Fall, and the dunce cap goes to Map 7, Exile. Hey Delinquent, can you make sure Gary doesn't knock out the power while I'm playing this next one?
I don't really tell Gary what to do.
Everybody loves a spooky mansion with a dark secret, but will you dare to find out what lies beneath? Maybe it's a stretch to call this a Halloween wad, but I've been itching to write about the Violent Beetle crew's latest work since I finished it in midsummer. And besides, who doesn't like a good mystery? What Lies Beneath is an MBF21 compatible set and extensively implements features exclusive to that compat, so we'll be switching to DSDA Doom for this playthrough. Without further ado, Map 1, Mansion Halls of Madness. The first map of any Doom wad can be a make or breaker, but What Lies Beneath bets it all on its haunted mansion beckoning you in. As a werewolf moon rises over the courtyard wall, all is silent save for rustling leaves and the occasional moan of an undead groundskeeper. If you take the red key from the mausoleum, there's no turning back. Mansion Halls of Madness teeters between playful Halloween spirit and genuine chilliness. Take it from one who knows, this is Moomy at his most easygoing combat-wise, but every one of his encounters has zest and purpose, even if that purpose is to make you chuckle. It's no secret that I give preferential treatment to maps with Doomcute, but this is an instance where it absolutely serves the WAD's objective. The creepy candlelit library, the strange symbols on the rugs and paintings on the walls, the laboratory abandoned mid-experiment, and the 2 cups of tea sitting untouched in the study. All of this tells a story, and I want to know how that story ends. You can also climb the chemistry set for a shootable switch secret, and hop across shelves and shimmy along the dining room mantelpiece for a soul sphere. Style and substance to burn. That Moomy still makes time for toilet humor and a reference to one Ursine mapper of death only proves he's a goddamn genius. Rarely will you see an opener deliver humor, intrigue, gasp-worthy visuals, and fun, varied, low-impact fights like Mansion Halls of Madness. Grade A+, difficulty D. Map 2, Deluge. Aided by the TNT MIDI pack's harrowing Agony Rhapsody remix, Deluge is a seductive sewer vortex where water falls as rapidly as heart rates rise. Lord Entropy's swirling architecture adrenalizes shotgun-only skirmishes and full-bore death traps alike, and his hair-trigger ambushes are masterfully engineered. Deluge rewards exploration and acrobatics with some top-flight secrets. If you want to find them all, you're gonna have to get wet. There's nary a weak moment in this map, but the final fight is something magical. You think you're made in the shade with 7 monsters left because you found the secret rocket stash, but guess what? The kill count lied. Press the skull switch and lost souls come dancing out of the darkness like will-o-wisps, stealing your rocket launcher-induced sense of security. Deluge is a seamless fusion of artistry and functionality. In this watery underworld, your screams have nowhere to go but down the drain. Grade A, difficulty C+. Map 3, Abandoned Before the Blast. Apparently this mansion's owners were the paranoid sort. The map title suggests a futuristic bomb shelter setting, but it's anybody's guess what all these gadgets do. Pegleg's propensity for short-fused ambushes takes some getting used to, but this map is a zany sort of confidence, and the color-clashing techno aesthetic goes for broke. Abandoned Before the Blast might as well be a training video for rocket launcher safety. You're given a ton of ammo for it, but every major fight starts by teleporting a swarm of demons 2 inches from your nose and another one behind you. As a consequence, first contact with this map might be frustrating, but returning players will get a nervous tingle out of bracing for its bushwhacks. Grade B+, difficulty B-. Map 4, Black Site. What kind of research could they have been doing in this dormant compound that they had to bury it underneath the bomb shelter? I've never seen DFF's formidable technical chops put to better use. Black Site gushes suspense, and most of it is conveyed through lighting, grisly decorations, broken doors and switches, and timed boom sequences that almost pass for cutscenes. Powering up Black Site ruins your chances of passing through inconspicuously, but that ain't Doomguy's style. The fight that follows the power-up sequence might be the toughest in the map. Revenants, imps, and zombies start pouring in while an arachnotron behind a reflective force field blasts away at you. Then 2 pain elementals join the party and 4 barons pop out of escape switch cubbies to clean up the mess. Fight your way out of power control, turn the dig site lights on, and buckle up for 2 more big battles. The blue key cave-in is just a crowd control exercise complicated by a creepy lost soul contingent, but the final fight is a masterstroke. DFF choreographs multiple waves of attackers, teleporting supplies, and a massive drill digging down for the red key at the center of it all. Hang in there for about 90 seconds and you can retrieve the key, close the spider turrets, and escape the complex. Black Site goes above and beyond in every category. The art direction is impeccable, the combat's cinematic, and the whole place lives and breathes and seethes like very few spaces I've encountered in Doom. But one of its best virtues is how hard it works to transition between maps 3 and 5. Dovetailing with Pegleg's bomb shelter and teasing Violent Beetle's fungal fantasia would be impressive work for a pro, but in a Doom community project, it also looks downright friendly. Grade A+. Difficulty B+. Map 5, Underwood. My heart goes gushy at the sight of Violent Beetle's subterranean mushroom forest, partly because of my fondness for Grove and fantasy video game settings in general, but I also love the subtext that a botched nuclear radiation disposal germinated this ecosystem without anybody knowing. This is exactly why you need to play What Lies Beneath. It's one of the best world-building integration efforts I've ever seen in Doom, and manages to change themes every single map while doing so. I encourage you all to pause here or skip to the pictured timestamp so you can download whatlies.wad and experience its last 6 levels with the wonderment they deserve. For Underwood's part, the only thing counting against it is its pitiless start. This map would sooner smack your mouth than let it hang agape. You get no time to acclimate to the dim lighting, dense foliage and rock formations, and the appearance of these pulsating power orbs and explosive pods. Ouch. It might take 2 or 3 surprise attacks till you get your bearings. Note that Beetle provides extra health and ammunition in each new monster closet. I cozied up to Underwood's aesthetic right away, but not so much to its prickly demeanor. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 6, Destined Decline, in which we casually discover the remnants of a once great civilization en route to uncovering the secret of a spooky mansion. Destined Decline is a photogenic mid-descent breather whose mellow action complements its crumbling torchlit scenery. Weird Sandwich gets great great mileage out of his brown texture palette, and I appreciate small touches like every door sinking into the floor. All it needed was Eternal Doom's grinding sound effect to go full Indiana Jones. There's a mega armor in the room with the red key that you can nab early with an optional SR-50 jump, but you won't need that kind of protection until the final fight, which tests your rocket launcher skills against a few rounds of Temple Guardians while 2 Archviles watch from above. You can save rockets by pressing both skull switches to crush them, or you can pile corpses on the sides of the room so the 2 additional vials in the exit have nothing to work with. This is lovely, laid-back eye candy. Grade A-, difficulty C+. Map 7, Glory Days. A mad detour through a rupture in space-time, Glory Days jettisons you back to the height of the civilization whose dust you were just disturbing. Seems like humans and demons have been doing this dance for a lot longer than we thought. Beetle's madcap combat, an eclectic mix of Egyptian, Arizonan, and occult decorations are a lot of fun, but the best thing about this map is its situational awareness. Beetle knows we haven't seen the sky in 5 maps, so he gives us a minute to soak in the sun and blow off steam. I also like how the time travel twist is played straight enough to take seriously, but also gets a laugh by taking the WAD's Shaggy Dog story yet another step further. The map wraps on a tense Cyberdemon shootout in a sacrificial pit. Don't be fooled by the low enemy count, those damn lost souls are at it again. It'll pass you by in the wink of a young girl's eye, but you'll look back fondly on Glory Days. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 8, Magma Flow. Seriously, where is Mumi's MacArthur grant? Magma Flow's core conceit would be exceptional new tech by itself, but Mumi explains how it works, iterates on it, and delivers the WAD's most satisfying coup de grace with it in under 10 minutes. Here's the idea. Shooting these burning cubes brings down a column of magma that smites anything standing under it. Awesome, right? Then we get to play with it. The first fight lets you mess around in a low-danger scenario, and the second fight integrates the explosive pods for extra kaboom. Then the curveballs start coming. The Hell Knight and Pinky Stampede hints at the Magma Flow's limitations, and the Red Key fight exposes them completely. The 2 Archviles that spawn at the far end of the cave have a whole army of dead puppets to work with, and if you miss your chance to magma dump or get distracted by the Arachno snipers and/or the Mancubi behind you, shit hits the fan quickly. Magma Flow's last 2 encounters are golden. There's an uh-oh moment by the yellow key, and if you're quick enough to grab it, Mumi will answer the question we've all been wanting to ask: can we do it to a Cyberdemon? What a superb map. Strong concept, even stronger execution. Grade A, difficulty B. Map 9, Where Fools Always Trespass. Alright, now we're back in Halloween territory. Doom logic dictates that if you dig deep enough, you'll eventually end up in hell, where fools like Doom Guy always trespass. The first 5 minutes of this gloom-laden charnel house are padding for the 2 slugfests that await. Dak chose this heavyweight Tristan Clark MIDI for a reason. There's no need to explain the joy of imp rocketing, you guys know what dopamine feels like, but this psychedelic freefall ending is something else. Crack that plasma rifle till you see daylight, then feed these bastards shrapnel until Hector's jaw drops. Where Fools Always Trespass rocks the haunted house. Grade B+, difficulty B+. Map 10, The Bleeding. First, I want to thank Hector the Eldritch Horror for swallowing so many light sources and demonic healing artifacts. It made my job a whole lot easier. I've played more fleshy hell maps made by Myolden than you might guess, and for my money, this is his magnum carcass. The Bleeding pegs the meter on macabre, suturing together industrial junk, slabs of innards, and lifetimes of suffering with a surgical saw and a staple gun. Collecting weapons and keys makes Hector queasy, so expect retaliation from his immune system. The red key fight gets especially dicey, releasing a pair of vials into the starting room with a ready or not, here we come. Myolden gets the honor of debuting the BFG, which is particularly well suited for densely packed, medium-sized battlegrounds like this one. Personally, I think the map gets too easy after you obtain it, but that's mostly to do with the gratuitous number of soul and megaspheres. Polish off the final glut of goons with your big f***ing tums, and remember to save a few for the 4 Archviles guarding the exit. The Bleeding builds from nightmare to power fantasy in a flash and looks great doing it. This is peak Myolden. Grade A, difficulty B+. Map 11, Astral Sanctuary. We've come a long way since the Haunted Mansion. We did some plumbing, raided a bomb shelter and rebooted a science facility, did mushrooms and rediscovered an ancient culture, dug our way to hell and cleansed the colon of a massive demon. All of that was building up to Astral Sanctuary, an an evil wizard's magical hideaway poised on the edge of a black hole's event horizon. It's up to you to survive its gauntlet of deadly traps, claim the red and blue skull keys, and take the fight to the lord of the castle. The most daunting and ambitious map in the set by a landslide, Astral Sanctuary will take up at least a third of your playthrough of What Lies Beneath. My semi-practiced run took about 45 minutes of game time. Okay, bad news first. I would rather play any combination of 4 What Lies maps than Astral Sanctuary, which is not to say it's bad. It just can't offer variety or concentrated creativity to rival an a la carte selection from the Beetle Boys' work. There are at least 20 brilliant minutes here, but they're lined with redundant, overlong, or less inspired encounters. I'll name some examples. The red key path could stand to lose the plasma rifle merry-go-round. You just run in circles and hold down the fire button. Both legs of the Spider Mastermind showdown are slow and stilted, making you hide behind bookshelves, kill grunts, and hit switches while Spidey sprays you from so far away you can almost forget about her. The Imp, Hell Knight, and Pig Parade on the blue path takes forever and doesn't really build to anything, and the crops of monsters that appear when you lower the 2 keys are pure filler. In another timeline, there's a cut of Astral Sanctuary that delivers the goods undiluted, but the high points of this version are still pretty incredible. Shawnee seems to have used actual sorcery to get this block fight to work. If you're standing on a marked platform and the light stops pulsing, you'll sink into the damaging blood. The more switches you press, the more agitated the peanut gallery becomes, till finally all hell breaks loose, the blood rises, and it's jailbreak time. The chess match uses a similarly mystifying color change effect to signal which game pieces it's about to add to the mix, and this Archvile arena, circle strafable as it is, drives up the tension by putting you on the clock. Miss a switch press, and the vials will punch you out forever. The final boss of What Lies Beneath was hiding 11 maps deep for a reason. This wussy warlock has a few flashy spells, but they never seem to land. He floats hither and thither, relying on his Archvile apprentice to damage you. Turn him to pixie dust and brace for an operatic reprisal. Of all Astral Sanctuary's climaxes, this one feels the best. I applaud Shawnee for his dazzling arcane visuals, resource balancing for red or blue key first approaches, and abracadabras with MBF21, but Astral Sanctuary is long-winded and a bit self-indulgent. Grade B+, difficulty A. So, What Lies Beneath? An evil tome, that's what. Truth be told, no ending could possibly land this whale of a tale, but getting there was so much fun. I haven't been this excited to turn a wad's proverbial pages since Going Down, and I have to say, it's ironic that a map set with a bad book for a main antagonist turned out to be so good at storytelling. Everyone involved in this project turned in some of the best mapping I've seen from them, and I think Violent Beetle earned a star on the Doomworld Walk of Fame for this wad. What Lies Beneath has a great hook, it's paced beautifully, and Beetle is not afraid to trust his mapping tours or take chances on crazy concepts. Hellevator and Sculptiverse are both on my list now, and I can't wait to see what else he and his crew come up with. My final grade for What Lies Beneath is an A. Difficulty-wise, it's right in line with the modern standard B. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Map 4, Black Site. Salutatorian, Map 1, Mansion Halls of Madness. Class President, Map 11, Astral Sanctuary, and I don't really feel like giving a dunce cap to a B+, so we'll strike that one for today. There is a quick honor roll for What Lies Beneath. Map 2, Deluge. Map 5, Underwood. Map 6, Destined to Decline. Map 7, Glory Days. Map 8, Magma Flow. And Map 10, The Bleeding. Ah, Gary, did you swallow the one I think you swallowed?
I think the screen had a bunch of green eyes on it.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, you should jump in. For the fans.
Well, I suppose I've made it out of worse predicaments.
I'm definitely not going to save you if you're dying down there.
I know, delinquent. I know. You don't play Maskim Xul. You offer yourself to it. No time to think. This frantic preamble flings you into the future, where you seem to have awakened to the wrath of a hostile spaceship security system. Confused and weaponless, you'll have to slip past a gallery of lasers and vaporizing turrets to pacify HAL 9001 and make your escape. Wherever this portal goes, it can't be worse than here. Or maybe it can. Now that we have a moment to get our bearings, allow me to formally introduce Maskim Xul, a Boom-compatible wad by Obsidian, released on October 31st, 2017. It contains 3 maps, but they're strung together without intermission breaks, so I'm going to treat this wad as one continuous experience. What you're looking at right now is technically Map 2. Maskim Xul's namesake and flagship level. This otherworldly library has prompted more invocations of H.P. Lovecraft than any map in Doom modding's history. With a bit of help from Tristan Clark's dreamy, funereal score, Maskim Xul soon envelops you in its horrible, wonderful world, and will delight in watching you lose your sense of direction and then your sanity. True. Nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous was I about my ability to orienteer through this 2-hour odyssey, but it turns out that Maskim Xul, while not foolproof, can be cracked reliably, even by me. It's one of the most absorbing Doom experiences I've ever had, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Spoilers galore incoming. This is your last chance to abandon ship. Alright, let's ring the bell. More than 3 years of de-hackery and black magic experiments went into Maskim Xul. Like Frankenstein's monster, its lost and stolen parts were grafted together with love, and it took on a life beyond the will of its creator. As Obsidian explained in his An Evening with Nirvana appearance, Maskim Xul was inspired by the library section of Molvy's The Seventh Circle, map 28 from Nova the Birth, and it also borrows graphics, sound effects, and a few ideas from Heretic, Knee Deep in Z-Doom, Realm 667, Eternal Doom, Epic 2, and Deus Vult 2. Speak of the devil, Guns Akimbo comes free, and the standard issue shotgun, chain gun, and super shotty are all intact, but you can kiss your sci-fi arsenal goodbye. The rocket launcher has been replaced with a fireball spell that you probably won't even see in map 2. Hold that thought. Substituting for the plasma rifle are timed explosives called jack bombs. Even with practice, these toys require a delicate touch to use effectively, but they are incredibly powerful. As for Weapon 7, well, for now, let's just say the BFG is yesterday's news. Consuming demon hearts and souls replenishes your mana, which powers the fireball spell, and the only new power-up is the roulette sphere. Round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. Thankfully, you need not rely on these fickle orbs to get by. At least in map 2, the majority of Obsidian's de-hacked shenanigans affect his bestiary. The Imp, Hell Knight, Pinky, and Archvile are untouched, and the Chimney Sweep Revenants function like usual, but the rest of Doom 2's lineup experiences severe mutations. Spellcasting Acolytes replace all the former humans. The weak variety shoots lines of fireballs, the green ones have a chain gunner-like hit scan attack, and watch out for the floating fellas in red. A direct hit from his meteor spell will kill you instantly. Caco Liches are never a pleasant sight. Their green bolts can home like Revenant missiles, and triggering their pain state makes them spout imp fireballs. There are now 3 types of Lost Soul. Garden variety, gray ones that blow up like barrels, and green ones that burst into Hell Knight projectiles when touched or shot, not to be trifled with. Satyrs are walls with health by definition, incredibly slow and melee only, but capable of fruitful infighting, especially with flappy barons. These winged brutes don't even need line of sight to fling fireballs your way, singly or in triplets, and they eat 2 more blasts of buckshot than common barons. Talking about Maskim Xul's content replacements in isolation is like describing chess by explaining how the pieces move. First and foremost, Maskim Xul is not a library. It's a huge astral organism that wears these musty shelves like skin and never stops watching you. Obsidian makes an incredibly savvy dungeon master. He has no scruples about punishing ammo wastrels or the overly confident, but always rewards curiosity and good memory. The object of his game is to find 3 skulls and 3 crystals. The complete set unlocks the exit in the West Wing, but individual keys can also open new areas, supply caches, and secret items. It can't hurt to use auto-map markers for points of interest you can't access yet. You'll be well acquainted with Maskim Xul's landmarks in no time, because routing this map is a matter of hitting the right places at the right times, and that involves a lot of hitting the right places at the wrong times first. Some rooms, like the multi-level bookshelf maze, only need 1 visit, but others, like the Furnace Room and West Wing, get encores. I know Doom and Reading are supposed to be mutually exclusive, but you will need to scour these shelves for red-eyed skull switches. Sometimes they drive progression, sometimes they lead to helpful goodies, sometimes you'll come across anomalies, which are worth examining more closely if you have the courage. For those of you who ignored my spoiler warning, here's a free tip. The only acolyte on the map that's carrying a fireball scroll lives behind a shelf in the West Wing, which can only be reached by jumping to a very hard-to-see shelf skull. One of the golden rules of Doom is if you're lost, go where the demons are, but Obsidian places an overwhelming majority of his monsters with teleporters midstream. In a map with so many causes and effects to keep track of, of, this creates an unnerving feeling that ambushes are occurring independent of your influence, further scrambling your inner compass. Maskim Xul edits that golden rule to read, "If you're under attack, you're doing something right, especially if the thing attacking you is a gaping maw in the wall." Each of the 3 crystals are guarded by Shoggoth, a toothy monstrosity whose gab I take great pleasure in closing. Your first and third run-ins with Big Mouth are shotgun peekaboo fodder, but the second one's a bit tricky, and getting to him will turn your world upside down. The topsy-turvy room only gets more mind-blowing the more I think about it. Every time you press one of these skulls, the room rotates by instantly teleporting you to a retextured transformation of the previous room. Obsidian makes a puzzle out of traversing this wicked corner of Wonderland and puts a bow on the sequence with a dimension-hopping Shoggoth shootout, drawing 4 rotations of a 3D space on a 2D grid and making a functional Doom stage out of it is much harder than it looks. With all 6 Eldritch knickknacks in hand, you're free to unleash the final fight, but it's no bowl of cherries without the Grimoire Excidium. Oh, you haven't heard of the Grimoire Excidium? That's probably for the best, actually. With a wave of your hand, this evil codex will snuff out anything standing in front of you. All it asks is a taste of your life force in return. The Grimoire's Faustian power can only be obtained if you find 3 one-sided floating skull switches. The glyphs beneath them betray their presences. Whichever one you open last reveals a portal to the Grimoire's tower, and the only way back from there is through this opened floodgate. I was practically hopping up and down with joy the first time I found this fight. After hours of candlelit wandering, it's an ecstatic high, amplified by the irony that the only weapon capable of saving your bacon also wants you dead. The genius of Maskim Xul is that its goals as an evil realm trying to deceive and murder you are perfectly in sync with its goals as a video game. I won't sugarcoat it. There are some goddamn inscrutable sections in this map, and I wouldn't blame you if you thought Obsidian was messing with you for fun. He is, but only because that's what Maskim Xul itself would do. Obsidian knows that outsmarting the Library of Nightmares feels even better after you've spent a bit of time wriggling in its claws, and aha moments lose their potency if they're not counterbalanced with a bit of nothing happening. I think Maskim Xul's quiet in-betweens are vital to its aura of permanence. The passage of time never felt so real in a Doom map. It gives you nothing to hold on to except the forlorn hope that you'll find a way out. I'd have been perfectly content if Maskim Xul had just ended here, but Obsidian and his dark minions had other plans. Off of the marshmallow stick and into the fire you go, little mortal. The third and final leg of Maskim Xul, known as Uge, is the most conventional map in the WoD, essentially a straight shot to the super boss that makes combat its primary focus. The relentless barrage of traps that fills out the first section does not play nice at all, turning your own jackboxes against you and shoving flappy barons and fire acolytes in your face. The leering tentacles spring back up seconds after you chop them down, so don't waste ammo on them. After the topsy-turvy room redux, Obsidian treats us to one of the most unspeakably awesome things I've seen in the Doom engine. A self-professed archvile file, Obsidian no doubt took great pleasure in constructing Maskim Xul's penultimate room. Perhaps 3 rounds of respawning shell files was too many, but there's no better target for jack bombs than a swarm of angry Martians. Finish checking out your books and it's time to confront the final boss of Quake. And no, you can't telefrag her. Super Cupcake Tactics sprite work is the star of the show here. Shub Nagorath looks like a less ominous version of the alien monster from the Watchmen graphic novel. Cartoon enough to not be scary, but repugnant enough to make putting it out of its misery high priority. Sadly, owing to Shub's ludicrous health pool and the number of foes she'll spawn in her second phase, the battle itself is pretty tedious, and unless you spin an invul in one of your 4 available roulettes, I'm not sure if it's even possible to win. The white screen gives you 30 seconds to go nuts with the Grimoire consequence-free, and getting 2 of them in the second phase is game over for Big Squid, but if you can't Grimoire freely, the field becomes so thick with spawned monsters, magic scrolls, and stray projectiles that concentrating fire on the boss becomes next to impossible, and the Archviles will eventually overwhelm you. In spite of its flaws, I really do like this final stage. It's lovably schlocky, grody, and excessive. I have one more thing to say, and that is Bara Maskim Xul. Grade A+, difficulty A+. So, it appears that, like my Maskim Xul player character, I may not survive Halloween this year, but if I do make it out of here, I'm going to have some choice words for the delinquent. If, on the other hand, this really is goodbye, then I first want to say thank you all very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts on this year's Hallowads down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments if Gary has a weak spot in his stomach. Now, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons. Aaron Allen, Agile Jackson, Agu XYZ, Alephany, Alex Topfer, Artisan Talzar, Bo Higginbotham, Beatbeard, Ben Barrett, Birdburn, Blexor, Buildersith, Bitefire, Kapabitch, Captain Wave, Cheesewheel, Chloe584, Christophine Place, Cinnamon, Cutman Mike, Damo, Dan, Dario Romero, Delirium, Doot Yourself, Dorothy Miller, Eggboy, Emma Essex, Francis T218, Galaquack, General Roasterock, Gothic Box, Griffin Upchurch, Hassamnas, Henners Lenners, Henning, Hexelix, Hot Tomato, Hyaksho, Idiot Supreme, In Captivity, Jeff Hibbert, Jimmy Paddock, John Averick, Jose Ballestero, Josh Ballard, Jude, Just Some Schmuck, Just Great 98, Killplane, Quan, Large Cat, Lexi Max, Lumnal, Mancubian Candidate, Mark Rowland, Master Drew 117, Matthew Gower, McJimbles, Michael Akins, Miracle Water, Mixer, Moko Mothman MM47, Mozicon, Myolden, Nafferty, Neurometry, Nick XCOM, Knights 108, Number 26, Not Obelisk, NX Avery, Omnibot, Painful Hill 72, Pengirzan, Pezaveng Jaj, Phantom Puff, Philip Coffey, Princess Entrapta, Pyro She, Quibs, Red Doomed Earth, Reese, Reese Anderson, Richard Fry, Roadworks, Robbie Lyons, Roofy, Sean Grant, Sid Menon, Sir Lethbridge Doomer, Sneckerfork, Stonemason, Stupid Nick, Sundry66, Sunriser, Super Pecan Man, Sylvester Priss, Tarakushino, The Fiery Charmeleon, The Freeman 500, The Sapphire Try, TJG1289, Trilby Trillion, Turbine 2K5, Wandering Autumn Leaves, Why Bemo Not a Crab, William Huber, and Wonka Shack. Thank you all very much. This is Mount Pain 27, and as it turns out, I will see you in the next episode of Dean of Doom.